All right, so it's been an interesting summer. I'm excited to share a little bit of an update with you here this morning. And for those of you that can't make it, we will make this available. I want you to know that the chat bar is an opportunity for you to ask questions. And then I know our school counselors are on here right now. I see our nurse, Ms. Gran, is on here. We have food service. I'm kind of scanning here. We're even lucky enough to have Kanabec County Public Health on here. So, I'm not going to have answers to all of the questions, but I'm hoping that with the people we have on here, we will be able to answer some of the questions that students and parents have. I'm going to just start talking, and Grace is about 30 feet away from me right now, and she is going to read questions that you type into the chat bar, and I will do my best to answer those, or I'll call on people to help me out. So first, I just want to welcome you. More schools, safety is our top priority, and we've spent a lot of time this summer trying to make sure that we have a plan that is going to be safe for all students and staff. We want you to feel good about sending your kids here, and I feel really good. I think that most of you know that we have 4 principals here. Every one of us principals has kids in our schools, actually probably kids in both schools. So we have some pretty neat measures in place, and I'm going to just start talking through a few of those. One really big driver right now for us is we're using 2 bus routes. So in order to keep students socially distanced, we are going to have an elementary route first and then a high school route second. So the elementary school day will run from 8 to 2, and the high school, grades 7 through 12, school day will run from 9 to 3. And that, on top of the governor, if you listen to our governor talk about return to school, you'll hear him talk about 3 plans. Our school district has to be ready at all times to switch from full in-person to hybrid, which is half-time, and then to all distance learning. On any day, we have to be ready to switch. So with that in mind, one thing we did at Mora High School is we changed our schedule. We have a 7-period day normally, and we also have an advisory hour called Blue Day hour. And if it's Blue Day, we have 8 periods. On a normal day, we have 7 periods. And one way that we can decrease interactions and passing time and, trying to be COVID responsible here, we went to a block schedule. So students this year, instead of having 7 shorter periods, they're going to have a block, kind of a block schedule, 4 longer periods. They'll interact with less students. They will have less passing time. I think this is a win-win. So when your students are here, we'll have an odd day and an even day. Odd day is kind of obvious. They'll go to classes 1, 3, 5, and 7. And then the even day, they'll attend classes 2, 4, 6, 8. One thing I want to get into right away, and I'm going to ask Grace, are you able to present the 5 phases?
Yes, I'll pull it up here.
All right, while Grace is pulling the 5 phases up, I need to let you know that last night we had a school board meeting, and our superintendent has been working closely with the county public health, and we just received different guidance yesterday than we had originally planned on. So when I say that, and Kathy, feel free to chime in, and anyone, if I'm saying anything incorrectly, please chime in. But up until yesterday, our plan was to go 100% full in-person at the high school. But because of, is it big? Is everyone able to see what's presented? Oh, good, I'm seeing thumbs up, thank you. So you might have to actually kind of zoom in a little bit to see it. It's kind of little, but what I really want you to focus on is those phases, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And I can hardly see it myself, so I'm going to cheat here. Well, Kathy, are you okay if I put you on the spot here and have you talk through kind of how we made this decision and what the phases are for?
Well, can you hear me?
Yes.
This is Kathy. You can hear me. Okay. I actually got onto a Google Class correctly. That's amazing.
And who are you, Kathy?
I am sadly no longer have a child in the public school system. I am the director at the public health here in Kanabec County. And to say the summer has been interesting is an understatement. Our lives have changed and they will be this way for a while yet. But through lots and lots of planning from the Minnesota Department of Health and Department of Education, they basically determined looking at impact to families, impact to schools, impact to community, and they made the decision to put out this guidance. And again, public health is simply a consultative role. It is ultimately the school's decision, but they are taking all of the things we look at into consideration. And they have a case rate per 10,000 people over a 14-day period. Now, the incubation period for coronavirus is considered to be about 14 days. It is a new virus. We are learning new things all the time. So, you know, if you've heard different numbers, that's possible, but this is the guidance that we are using from Department of Health and CDC. So if our case rate per 10,000 people is 0 or less than 10 to less than 10, they're more comfortable going to an in-learning for pre-K through 12. As we move to a higher case level, you can see the different phases. So 10 to 20, they're recommending in-person learning pre-K through 6 and hybrid learning 7 through 12. And I know we'll get the question, well, why the difference? Well, again, looking at the impact to community, impact to families, impact to learning. Our littles, our pre-K through 6, really need a parent there to help with that in-person learning. Obviously, if they're at home, it has a much larger effect on the parents. Grades 7 through 12, they're a little more independent and they can do some of these things on their own. So looking at the impact to those families and the working community, this is what the state of Minnesota decided. It's really important to have those little ones in person just for their learning as well as for families to be able to continue with as much normalcy as possible. Is the risk different? Not necessarily, other than they know that kids under age 10 really do not transmit the virus as efficiently as those of us who are older. So all of those things were looked at. Again, as you move up in numbers 20 to 30, it's hybrid for K through 12. Phase 4, 30 to 40, hybrid learning pre-K through 6 and distance learning for the 7 through 12. And phase 5 is distance learning pre-K through 12. Again, we want to keep a lid on any outbreaks that we might see happening. So we're going to keep an eye on it. And I would hate to get to that 50 plus per 10,000 before you went totally distance learning. Hopefully we'll never get to that extent. But right now we have a higher case number and it's closer to that 20 number than it is to 10. So we have to look at that. There's other things we look at, such as what is the ability of our local community, our local hospital to test? Right now, they aren't able to get supplies to do mass testing. What is their ability to respond to a big illness? We're a small critical access hospital. A lot of those would need to either get transferred out, which is difficult when you don't have an endless supply of ambulances. So we have to think about that. We have to look at how our community is protecting each other. I have received more complaints this week about large gatherings, people not wearing masks, people not social distancing. So those are all things we have to look at. And it's going to take a community to get the school to be able to be in-person learning consistently. So we will continue to watch the numbers. We will continue to gauge how the community is responding and what the community is doing to protect each other, as well as how our hospital is doing with testing supplies and patient load. So we have to look at all of that. Is that what you were looking for, Brent?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Kathy.
Hey, Kathy, this is Ann, the school nurse. There was a question in the chat box, and it says, when they are looking at numbers of positive cases, are the nursing home residents' positive cases deducted? I believe the MDH states that is correct. Can you answer that?
No, those are included in our counts. And I know that a letter went out earlier, and we do look at the impact to the school. There is still movement in and out of those facilities of staff. So we have to be concerned with that. And again, all of the other factors I talked about. So we can't just look at those numbers alone. They are not deducted from that, but that's because there's still movement in and out and around our community of people that have contact with that. They're being very, very cautious, but we have to wait and see how that plays out. And again, those incubation periods are 14 days. We may not know the full impact until after that time or even later.
Thank you.
All right, so I'm going to keep moving along here. Again, if you think of questions, please add them to the chat bar. Grace, could you please pull up the hybrid academic plan? While she's pulling that up, I'd like to just thank Kanabec County Public Health and WELIA. We're really blessed to be in a small town because there's a lot of communication happening on a daily basis. Our school superintendent, Mr. Dan Boche, he has daily communication with public health, and they're talking to WELIA. We are contact tracing. We know who these people are that are testing positive. And as a parent, I think what I would want to know is the school going to act quickly if we start to have a spike? And the answer is yes. You know, you just saw those 5 phases. If we recognize that our COVID numbers went up very quickly in a day, we have the ability, and you're going to get the old phone call from me, the voicemail saying, starting tomorrow, we're distance learning. I mean, it'll happen that quick. Going the other way, back up toward phase, let's say we're in phase 2 right now, and our numbers drop, and we're looking more like we should go back to full in-person. Those things will happen more slowly, and that's a safety precaution. We might start on a Monday because it's more convenient and equitable. We want students to get the same amount of in-person instruction, but when it's the other direction, if the numbers are going up, we'll act right away. So what Grace is displaying right now is our hybrid academic plan, and as of right now, this is how we will start school. And remember, this could change based on what next week looks like. But if you kind of zoom in here, I want to point out a few things. First thing I want to point out is students are supposed to get 50% in-person instruction, or I'm sorry, 50% of our total students need to have in-person, and the other half they are distance learning. So the first thing I want to point out is there's 2 groups. If you look on the left, there's group A and group B. You don't know where your student is at this point, and that is something we're working right now on. And the reason it's taking us so long is we are balancing classes. We're making sure that every class at our high school and elementary is a number where if we split it in half, we can still provide social distancing. So to give you an example, if there's any way we could have all of our classes at 28 instead of one at 31 and another one at 25, we're doing that. So we're balancing classes. We're also balancing bus routes. If you think about that kind of makes sense. We're trying to get the same amount of students as low as possible on each bus so that they can spread out. Next week, you will find out. I don't know what day next week, but I do know we plan to release that as soon as we have the A and B. The top, it says day 1 through 5. And originally, when we built this, we had it say Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And we changed it to 1 through 5 for a few different reasons. The main reason is we really don't want families to depend on, to think that a Wednesday is always a distance learning day, because that's not how we will operate. That's our intention on a 5-day week. In most school days will occur on a 5-day week. So most of the time, group A would go to school days 1 and 2, or I could say Monday, Tuesday. And then on a 5-day week, if we are in a hybrid like we are right now, all students would distance learn on Wednesday, and then group B would be in person Thursday, Friday. But the reason we changed it to 1 through 5 is we have short weeks. You think about MEA and Thanksgiving and Christmas, and actually our very first week of school because of Labor Day. So what I want to point out is, we actually have a schedule that I think we're going to release today or tomorrow. Today, hopefully by the end of the day, and that will be on the website for all parents to see. But on a week like Labor Day week, we want all students to get in person 2 days. So that day 3 won't exist. You have a Wednesday distance learning day. We'll go day 1, day 2. So all A students will be in person. B will not have school. And then day 4, day 5. We'll skip that day 3 because it's a 4-day school week. I'll just give another example here. MEA, Thanksgiving. They're both coming up. Everyone knows they're 3-day school weeks. What we'll do on a week like that is we'll have the A students report for a day, the B students will report for a day, and most likely Wednesday would be distance learning for all. MEA and Thanksgiving are both Thursday, Friday off. So maybe it would look like this: day 1, day 4, day 3. If you're able to see that, that just meant A students, B students, distance learning. And the goal again is to keep it equitable for the A and the B with in person. So when you look at this schedule, again, it shows the odd and even. I already kind of talked about the block schedule. So the periods are going to be roughly 77 minutes long instead of 50. And they're only going to have 4 in a day. And remember, our school day is shorter now because of the busing. So instead of a 7-hour day, it's a 6-hour day. At the high school, we are 9 to 3. At the elementary, they are 8 to 2. Here's something that I should definitely point out right away, because we just found out we're going to hybrid. Normally, so 3 weeks into school, the B students, when the A students are in school, they're still at home, synchronous. They're logged in at home on their Chromebooks, and they're learning the same things that the teachers are going over. And vice versa. When the B students are in school, the A students are at home, synchronous learning with the teacher. That is not the plan for week 1. Week 1, as you know, we don't have open house. We're not distributing the Chromebooks. The Chromebooks will be handed out on the students' first day of school. So if you think about it, if you're a B student, you're going to go to school Thursday and Friday, the first week of school. The A students will go Tuesday and Wednesday. So while A students are in school, B students, they won't even have their devices yet. So there will not be synchronous learning the first week of school. We might not be ready for it the second week of school, but as soon as we're ready, the expectation will be for the students at home, they're logging in, they're part of class. It's called concurrent teaching. If I'm a teacher, I'm up front, I have my 20 students sitting in front of me. If we're in hybrid, it'll probably be, maybe it's 12 students sitting in front of me, and then I'll also have students at home at the same time. They'll use their devices to, we have a Clever Touch. It's kind of like a giant iPad that's on the wall. All of our teachers have a laptop like this so they can communicate. We're also purchasing some sound systems where the teacher will wear a lanyard and there'll be a microphone, and that is intended to make sure our students who are learning at home can hear what's happening in the class, because sometimes these laptop microphones aren't as strong. All right, that was a lot of information. I know I had a couple other things I wanted to mention here. Grace, can you ask her some of the questions we've been getting?
Yeah, the first question was, what happens when a child has symptoms?
Great question. I'm going to call out Nurse Gron.
Yeah, hello. So if you take a look on our school webpage, the Back to School Plan, the Minnesota Department of Health exclusion decision tree is posted there. And we are going to be going based upon that. Every school in the state of Minnesota has to follow that, and we are as well. And so the first thing I'm asking is that parents check their students' temperatures at night and in the morning. Make sure there's no fever. We will be going by the 100.4. That is the fever that they are suggesting is associated with that. So it's a little bit different from before. We used to send home students at 100. It's 100.4 now. If your child is home and is just not feeling well, I highly encourage you to err on the side of caution and just keep your student home. We really want sick kids to stay home, healthy kids at school. And so, if they're not feeling good, keep them home for a day, see how they're doing. If symptoms don't improve, maybe think about calling your provider, calling the nurse line and just seeing. If they're better, great. We just really, really want to keep a handle on keeping sick kids home. If we have a student that gets sick at school, we do have a room in both health offices at elementary school and the high school that we are able to separate that student from other students to try to eliminate that cross-contamination, if you want to think of it that way, that we can have a student wait until a parent comes to pick them up. The big thing with this decision guide is the length of time they need to stay home. So when you look at those signs and symptoms, the student with the symptoms along with their siblings will be sent home. The student that is sick will need to stay home for 10 days, and the sibling and household members need to stay home for 14 days. I know that seems like a very long time, but as Kathy mentioned earlier, it's because of the incubation period. And so some more guidance is going to be coming out on that. What if my test is negative? Currently, it's still the same. You're going to stay home for the 10 or the 14 days. If it's something else and you find out maybe it's strep throat and you get that confirmed, you get on antibiotics, you can come back within 12 hours, that type of thing. So we're still going to go by those rules. We're just a little more strict this year with our signs and symptoms and the exclusion and that sort of thing. I have a lot of questions that I've been getting. What if my child is out for the 10 days? Do they automatically get enrolled in the Flex program? No, and Brent can back me up if this is wrong. You won't automatically get enrolled in that online learning. You will, high school, if you are able to, you will still log in remotely like you normally would. For elementary school teachers, it'd be just like if your child was out for a long extended time or a trip. We're going to work independently with those teachers and go from there. But you wouldn't automatically get enrolled in the online learning program. And so this is obviously going to be a case by case. Students are going to be out a lot more this year than they ever have before, and we're going to work through it. But this is really for the safety of your student, our students, and staff. And so that's what we're following. There's going to be more information coming, and I will try to update you as much as we can. We will upload things on our website. It's not there yet, but it will be on the health service webpage. I'll have a dedicated COVID section that you can go and get information to. I think that answered the question.
Thank you, Nurse Garan. The next question we have is, do I attend open house? And again, we are canceling open house for grades 8 through 12 unless they are new to the district. So open house, which is next Wednesday at 4 o'clock, is only for 7th graders and people new to the district. 7th graders are asked to come at 3 different staggered times. Last names A through G, 4 o'clock, H through O, 5 o'clock, and P through Z, 6 o'clock. We'll meet in the auditorium. Social distancing, face masks, that's all required. We ask that every student only bring 1 parent guardian with them. That's all been mailed to you as well, so you should have that information at home. The next question is, when will my student get their schedule? So not talking to AB, I already mentioned that that'll be next week. We'll let students know who are A and B. Counselors chime in if I'm wrong on this, but the answer is, I think noon today. We're going to try to make it available using Student View. Is that right, Sarah?
Yep, that's correct. Noon today. Hopefully they should be viewable on Student View. And then with that, we also sent an email to all students kind of explaining if you see an error or if there's a change that you're interested in. We sent an email explaining the process for that. Students will have to complete a Google form that we shared with them, requesting that change, and then that's something our team will be reviewing weekly, and then we will be emailing students with those changes. Students are still encouraged to meet with us if they have questions or want to talk about options. We are just requiring that they set up an appointment with us ahead of time just so we can kind of stagger traffic in, just because usually it's a really busy time in our office at the beginning, and we want to make sure that, you know, we're adhering to the social distancing guidelines too. So we also shared the links to our calendars for students to request appointments too. And then as always, feel free to call and email us.
Thank you, Ms. Elstrom. The next question we have is, are students using lockers this year? This was something that area principals talked a lot about over the summer, and what we've decided to do at Moore High School is we're not going to issue lockers to all students. If this is something that an individual student really needs, they just need to come to the high school office, and Nancy and Grace can help them out. We will be spacing them out though. It'll probably look like 1 every 5th locker. The goal would be for most students to just use a backpack and keep their things in there and travel from class to class and not use a locker because of extra touching and spacing. The next question, when will my students be getting their devices? I mentioned this earlier. If you're an A student, now that we're on the hybrid schedule, they will get it their first day of school, and that's Tuesday, September 8th. The B students, they're going to have their first day of school on Thursday, September 10th. Grace, what's the next question?
I think there maybe is just some clarification needed. Hybrid learning or family flex, right now, those are the only 2 options that MHS students have as of today, August 28th. Right now, we are in our hybrid learning phase 2 plan. And you also have the option as a family to choose the family flex option. And in order to get registered for the family flex option, just call the high school office, 320-679-6200. And then another question, if we need to provide an excuse note for students, do we follow the typical procedure? The answer to that is yes. You will need to call by 9 o'clock before school starts if your student's going to be absent, and you can call days before that if you know that you're going on a family trip. So that same typical procedure is needed if your student's going to be absent.
Grace, I have the next question. It is there a fee this year for devices? Great question. The answer is yes. We're using the same $40 fee for the Chromebook that we've charged in the past. We break that down to $10 per quarter if a student isn't here the full year. We also have scholarships available for families that qualify. The scholarship forms are available in the high school office or in the media center. The next question, what will lunches look like this year? That's a great question. Obviously, safety of students is number one. So we are going to try to space students out as much as possible, especially when we know they'll be taking their masks off to eat. So what we have planned at the high school is we're bringing some bleachers. We have portable bleachers that we use. If you think of in the wellness center or maybe out at the baseball, softball fields, you've seen those field bleachers. We're going to bring those to the front yard on the front lawn. And if it's a beautiful day out, we know that our students like to sit outside anyways. And a lot of them actually like sitting in the grass if it's nice. So we will have students able to eat outside. If the weather's crummy, we've got a couple different ideas. Right now, our custodians are actually setting up our tables and we're measuring to make sure that we can have the 6-foot distancing. We also have the auditorium and the small gym that we're planning to use to make sure we're distanced when it's not nice and students are in the building over lunch. And then another measure, just so you know, is we did add a 4th lunch period, and that basically splits up 7th and 8th grade. That was our biggest lunch. Many of you know that we have open lunch privileges for juniors and seniors. So if you are a junior and senior and you meet the qualifications, you can go out for lunch. And we will be allowing that this year like we have in the past. So because of that, we have less students in the 9 through 12 lunches, and it will be much more easy for us to space people out. But the 7th and 8th grade, obviously they're all here. So we split their lunch into 2 groups. 7th grade will eat alone, 8th grade will eat alone. And because we're in hybrid, it'll only be half of them at a time. So it'll be much easier for us to space people out. Next question I have is, how do I register for the Family Flex option? Now remember, the Family Flex option, that's available to any family who would like to start the year out with their students at home. We will continue it through the year. They'll be expected to still log in and join class while it's happening with their in-person peers. And just so you know, I looked at the numbers, I think yesterday, and we had right around 70. That number has been pretty steady here for the last week. So if you think of our high school has about 760 students, 70 of them will be on the Family Flex option. And the answer is if you would like to register your family or student for that, you just need to call the high school office, and Grace and Nancy will help you out with that. The next question is from Grace. What do we have?
How do I sign up for Parent View? If you need help signing up for Parent View, just give Nancy or I a call at the high school office and we'll walk you through that. There is a form that you need to fill out, and a copy of your photo ID is needed as well.
I have the next question. It is a good one. What if a student refuses to wear a mask? Well, we know that this is a state mandate, so we will be requiring it, just like all staff will also be required to wear a mask. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to find out why. why is the student refusing to? Maybe there's a great reason, maybe there's a medical reason. And if so, we're going to follow up with the parents, make sure that we have a doctor's note that says this student does not need to wear a mask and this is why. If a student's doing this just to break our rules, we're gonna discuss other options. You know, should the student be family flex if they can't wear a mask and the doctor says that they can wear a mask? Anne, am I saying all that right?
Yes, yes, you are. So yes, we are requiring a provider's note for health reason or mental health reason, physical reason from your provider. If that is given to us, then we will work with the next steps, and maybe that would be a face shield, or we'll take this by a case scenario. But like Mr. Nelson said, this is a state mandate, and it's for the health and safety of not only your student, but other students and the teachers. And so this is a aerosol respiratory disease, and studies have shown that masks, when worn properly, which means covering your nose and your mouth, decrease the effectiveness of your droplets getting out. There was a question, which I'll just jump into here since that was posted, about what is an appropriate face mask. And so we do have a list from the Department of Health, and they say a paper or disposable mask, a cloth face mask, a scarf, a bandana, a religious face covering. It needs to cover the nose and the mouth. Gaiters are on the list from the state of Minnesota as well. What I am asking, if you think about it, when you're purchasing a gaiter, is make sure it's 2-ply or more, or maybe think about folding it over if it's a very thin layer, just to help prevent the case of droplets getting out. We will be supplying all students with one cloth mask, and they will have some disposable masks in I'm not sure where they're going to be held, but the state has provided one cloth mask plus 3 disposable masks per student. And so they will get a cloth mask from the school as well. And so we highly encourage students to have additional masks in case something happens. We will be educating students on how to wear a mask and the proper use of them. One of the things which is kind of gross, but needs to be done, is if your child needs to sneeze, we're asking that they sneeze in their mask in their elbow. And then, if they need to clean out their mask or switch out masks at that time, then we'll go from there. But that is the whole purpose of the mask, is to contain those droplets. What is not acceptable are the masks with the valves. They have been proven that they are not safe for the general public. They are safe for yourself, but they allow aerosols, droplets to go out of those valves. And so those will not be allowed at school. However, we're going to work with the students, and I highly encourage you practice wearing masks now. I too have a young child, and so if you happen to see us, you might see him walking around with a mask or watching a TV show. And so we're practicing wearing our masks. But that is something that we will be highly encouraging, as well as hand washing throughout the day. If you think about sending a paper bag with your student for lunchtime, at the high school level, they're a little bit more easily to follow guidelines or directions, I guess, versus younger kids. And so not all younger kids, don't make that assumption, but, folding your mask in half and putting in a paper bag while it's sitting while you're eating, or making sure it's at least folded and sitting down, because we want to try to keep the inside clean as much as possible. So that's a lot about masks, and more education will be coming. I'll have some things. There's links on the district newsletter that goes out about masks, and we'll be talking to students throughout the year as well.
Thank you, Nurse Gran. I have the next question, and this was a parent that was asking for their student who is in hands-on type classes. Actually, the class is welding. Oh. I'm echoing. So the class was welding, and in welding you wear gloves, and you're done with the welder, and the next person comes and has to weld and puts on those same gloves. What are our precautions there? Well, I think this one best practices would say they're going to wash their hands before they get into them. They're going to wash their hands after they get out of them. Also, I think we'll have latex gloves available for those students. The next question, will we be letting non-students and staff into the building? That's a very good question. The answer is no, but there's always some gray area there. So let me give you an example. Our walking track, once school starts at the Wellia Wellness Center, that will be closed. We will not have outside people inside breathing the same air as our students. We have a church, that rents our school district. That will not be happening on Sundays once school starts. Here's maybe a better example of a time where we would allow it. At the high school here, we have Army recruiters. If it's a nice day out, I like to use common sense, and I think we have picnic tables outside. If they're wearing a mask and our senior who's considering the military is wearing a mask, we might have them sit outside and talk. But in most cases, they will not be allowed in. We're going to have different things set up to allow for that. Might mean more phone conversations instead of face-to-face. The next 3 questions are all for any Family Flex students. They're actually pretty quick questions here. First, when does my Family Flex student pick up their devices? Our plan is noon to 3 on Wednesday next week. So the day that open house is, that day, Wednesday from noon to 3 at the elementary for Family Flex student device pickup. Do Family Flex families sign up for meal delivery? Or how do they? Sorry. So meal delivery for Family Flex students. Grace, I'm going to ask, is there any way you could just, in the chat bar, maybe type in Callie Hansen's email and phone number?
I will.
That's our food service director, and she is the person who you would contact. And yes, we do have meal delivery. And then the last Family Flex question, if a Family Flex student is going to be absent, do parents have to call in their absence? The answer is yes. We're going to treat this just like normal in-person school because essentially they are logging in and they are still a part of that class. So you would still call the office. Ms. Niskanen will make sure your student is reported either absent or present. If you type that in, will they be able to see it?
I
They
did.
have to have the chat bar open.
They have to have the chat bar open, but Miss Hansen is on our call.
Oh, awesome. Hey, Callie, did I say that right? I should have called on you there.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. From what I heard, yes, it sounded like that was good. Family Flex families and hybrid families need to request that they would like to receive meals. The prices for meals are listed on our website, along with the application for educational benefits. So I highly encourage families to fill that application out, and we'll see if you qualify. Family Flex families that request meals will be in communication with you to set up a time on Mondays where you'll come in and pick up your meals for the week. The hybrid students will take home their meals on the last day that they're in our building. So typically that would be Tuesday. They would leave with 3 days worth of meals. And then Friday, those students would go home with meals to cover the 3 days that they'll be home the following week. I think that's it. Did I answer the question?
So Callie, can you tell me if I'm hearing this right? So if I'm we don't serve meals on the weekends, but if I'm an A student, I would have school Monday, Tuesday. So Tuesday I would bring home meals for Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Is that correct?
Yes.
And then a B student their last day in school would be Friday, and they would bring home meals for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Is that right?
Correct. Yes.
Thank you.
Yep.
The next question is about the rack. And if you don't know what the rack is, that's our student clothing shelf. It is all free, and the clothes in there is super, super nice. We have some teachers that keep it up, and I want to just give a shout out to them. It's been 5 months since any of our high school students have had an opportunity to use the rack, and I'm hoping that, you know, we only have about 40 of you on here. I'm hoping that a lot of people will watch this, and a lot of our high schoolers grow a lot in 5 months. So you might be ready for some new clothes. I encourage you on your first day of school, or, you know, if you're a 7th grader at open house, we'll have that open. But it's on 3rd floor. It's completely free. You walk in there, you take what you want. So please take advantage of the rack. Next question is a fun one. How many new teachers do we have this year? At the high school, we have 3 new teachers. They are teaching math, that's Ms. Bogey, social studies, and that's Mr. Hoffman, and we have a new counselor, Ms. Coland. Grace, what's the next question?
So right now we are in phase 2 of hybrid learning. So what will a student's day look like if they are on their distance learning day? If they're on their off day at home and they're logging in, what will that look like for them?
Hey, that's a great question. And that will look a little bit different the first week of school, maybe the second week of school, than it will for most of the year. Most of the year, when the students at home, they're going to be expected to be in attendance. And some teachers will maybe have a flipped classroom where they just have to watch a 10-minute video on the lesson and then start working on maybe an assignment. Other teachers will require the student to be, maybe it's the whole 77 minutes that student is logged in participating in class. So that is the normal expectation. But remember, this first week of school, for sure, we know B students will not have their device yet. So Tuesday and Wednesday of the first week of school is only going to be A students. Teachers will repeat everything they do on Tuesday, Wednesday, they will repeat on Thursday, Friday. I hope that makes sense. So really, students only have 2 days of school the first week. Maybe this will continue. We will let students know, but once I mentioned sound systems, okay? So we have some logistics to work out with video and sound. Once we're ready, we will expect all students, if they're at home, to be participating with their in-person peers, if that makes sense. Next question.
Are families able to see if they are on the A group or B group on Parent View? And I can kind of answer that question. We're working on that. Next week, we will be communicating with you on where you can find that information. Right now, we're not sure if it's going to be on Parent View or through a Google Sheet. So we're figuring that out. Next question, what if the parents are not able to get Chromebooks on Wednesday due to having to work? I guess we're not sure. I would say contact our high school office and we'll figure out a time for you to pick that up. So if you're unable to make it and you're a Family Flex student and you're supposed to be picking that Chromebook up on Wednesday, contact our high school office and we'll figure out a time that you can stop by and pick that up. New students, someone had a question with, are there any new students for the seniors? We do have new students. I would say approximately 20 new students, grades 7 through 12 are coming in, so that's exciting. I'm not sure how many are specifically seniors, but we do have new students coming in.
Hey, to piggyback off of that, we also have some foreign exchange students. That was a surprise. I didn't know that there would be very many this year, and the number is down, but we do have foreign exchange students this year.
Another question, Family Flex students, do they need to contact the school if the student will be late or needs to sign off early? Yes, you will contact the school, follow the same procedure as if your student was in person. So call the school before the school day starts, letting us know that they have a dentist appointment, for example, at 10 o'clock. Could students access the classroom feed on home computers, or is it only on their Chromebooks?
I would say they could use their home device. Yeah, I mean, we're a Google school, so Google Meet is what we're on right now. Our teachers use Google Classroom. As long as you're able to access those, then I would say you can use your home device.
What will the first week of school look like for Family Flex students?
Hey, that's a great question. So remember, only 2 of those days are going to be school for the A and 2 for the B. So those students, we haven't even discussed this yet because we just found out we're going to be a hybrid schedule. But I'm anticipating that I will ask that they be a part of either both days, Monday, Tuesday, or both days, Thursday, Friday. That will allow them to get their odd classes on the first day and their even classes on the second day. Great question. I'm gonna write that one down. We need to figure that out.
And Family Flex students will still be in either the A group or the B group, so you'll follow that same schedule as the
great
A
point.
group or B group.
Yeah, so take back everything I said. Grace is right.
That's all the questions that are typed in so far.
Okay, so my goal was to keep this to an hour. We have about 7 minutes left. I would love to, as long as we have public health on here, Ms. Bursky, is there anything else that maybe wasn't discussed that you would like to share?
Well, I just assume that there's going to be some social media about this, and just really hoping that people understand that this is a very fluid situation. And again, it's a novel virus. Things change constantly. As any scientist will tell you, we learn more, we have to adapt. So just to be patient and kind, and again, to the best thing we can do to have our students in person is to practice the physical distancing and wearing a mask. It's not an or, it's an and to practice that good hygiene, and hopefully we'll be able to get back to in-person learning.
Thank you, Kathy. Thanks for your time this morning. Nurse Gran, is there anything that maybe wasn't discussed that you would like to share?
No, I don't think so. I just want to really highly encourage what Kathy just said, is continue social distancing at home. When you're out in public, wear a mask, wash your hands, keep your child home if they're sick. Just really play it safe this year. If your student is complaining of a stomach ache, trust them. Keep them home for a day, see how they're going. If it gets better, great. If not, but even if they get better throughout that day, don't send them midday. Just keep them home for the day and they can come back the next day type thing. So we'll be in communication and more information will come.
Thank you. How about counselors? Ms. Rushmeyer, Ms. Elstrom, is there anything that maybe wasn't discussed that you feel parents or students need to know?
Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Just that normally we don't allow a ton of class changes, but this year we'll be allowing even less. We have been working hours upon days to try and balance classes, to try and balance the A and Bs. So if you're in a class that you don't particularly want to be in, or if you didn't get all of your requests, just please be kind. We just tried to put you with the best that we could, to our best of our abilities, in a class that you would like. So please just try to understand that, and that we're not trying to be inflexible. We just want to make sure that everyone's staying safe, and that's our first priority as always. And that we are just trying to work as fast as we can. So hopefully at noon you'll be able to see those schedules.
Thank you, counselors. Ms. Hanson, is there anything from food service that maybe didn't get mentioned that needs to?
I don't think so. The only thing I just want to really emphasize is for families to please fill out the application for educational benefits. I know that a lot of families think that application is just to see if they can get free and reduced meals, but there are so many other things that go with that application for our district. They're available online. You can go to the website and go to food service. And if you have any questions, please send me an email or give a call.
Thank you, Ms. Hanson. I'd like to echo that. You know, that filling out that form helps our school tremendously. It's not just for free and reduced, it's for all students. So please take the time to fill out that educational benefits form. Did I miss any groups here? Oh, great question. I see someone. Okay, so the last thing I have is, I just want to thank you for your time this morning. I want to thank you for being flexible as we work through the different phases this year. Our goal is to be full in person. We know that that's how students learn the best. And if I could please just beg you in the community, please wear masks, socially distance. That's going to really help us have in-person school and washing those safety precautions. We're doing it for our students right now. This video, the last question I just saw, and I'll hang up now, but we're going to record this and put it on maybe the school website, school Facebook. So if you hear people talking about it, it's almost 1 hour long exactly. So please direct them to this video. Otherwise, we'll see your students on the first day of school. Thank you so much.
Thank you.